Okay. Before we actually start to move, just stand in for a few moments. Give yourself a chance to settle in. Feel comfortable as you stand. Don't pay too much attention at the moment to sort of precise posture or anything. Those of you who've done this before have a sense of how it can feel. Try and just have that as a sort of goal and an intention. So you're just saying to the body, go there. And it's interesting to see how we respond to that. Our bodies do respond to intention. Just gradually settling in. Feeling the weight of your body in your feet. Give yourself a chance to properly arrive at the session. Begin to focus your attention into this center part of the body here between your hips and your pelvis and your waist, and just beginning to turn slowly there, letting your arms hang from your shoulders, being quite heavy. In movement up through towards your rib cage, towards your shoulders. Maybe even down into your feet, you may detect a bit of movement in your legs. Again, people with a bit more experience, remember, we want to try and keep our knees pointing in the same direction as our toes, so try and avoid too much of this side-to-side movement. See if you can just let your weight settle into the front half of your feet more. And when we do that, if I exaggerate this, we go forwards a little bit. Obviously, this is going to give me a feeling of falling. I'm going to tense up and just allowing your hips to gently drop back and soften your knees. So your pelvis seems to level off. Try not to stiffen up in your lower back. Don't pull your belly in, because both of those things will tend to stop the pelvis finding its alignment. Many of the movements changes that we make in our posture come quite automatically to our bodies, provided we're not actually getting in the way of it. So rather than looking to sort of minutely adjust your pelvis, which is quite a difficult thing to do, tend to sort of like go a little bit too far each time. Rather, try and just get a sense for what's stopping that happening. It's natural for our bodies to let our weight sink, gravity working through our body, but we often resist it. When we go to sit in the chair, for instance, it's natural for our pelvis to tuck under, and this is sometimes described as sitting. So again, rather than thinking, well, I've got to arrange my pelvis exactly this way, try and get a sense of allowing your pelvis to find its level. When that happens, you're more likely to come into a gentle upright stance. Now remember, this is an ongoing process. I don't think there is a final stage of, I've got the posture exactly right. We're constantly changing physically and mentally. And every time we change one thing in our body, maybe a hip dropping or shoulder loosening, that will have a knock-on effect to the whole of the body. So we want to find a balance between kind of technical awareness. So for instance, we want to keep our shoulders in line with our hips. We want our knees above the balls of our feet, and in this posture, it's not a low posture, but we want to get a sense of our hips in line with our ankles, lower back, hips, buttocks, overhanging slightly. At the same time, there's a feel to the posture. And it may be that, again, particularly those of you who've been doing this for a while, are now standing somewhat differently to how maybe you did a year ago, but still with the same qualities. So we're looking to align ourselves with the pull of gravity, rather than find a posture where we're sort of leaning over and having to strain to stop ourselves falling or stumbling. We're looking to allow our center of gravity to drop. The lower your center of gravity, the more stable you are, and the less weight there is to carry in your upper body. And both of those will help you to release tightness and stiffness through your body. Although you will find, particularly the muscles at the front of the thighs, are working quite hard. There's always an aspect of conditioning, physical conditioning that goes on. So that's the rooting down. Returning from the center of the body. The very act of rooting down is like dropping down into water. As soon as you drop down, or if you get a ball and you push it into water, you'll feel the push up. And we start to get a sense of this after a while, that as we root down, we also feel the counter movement. Otherwise, we would just collapse. So there's a two-way movement. There's a cycle of movement, of energy working through our body. And when that reaches the center of the body, we can guide it, we can shape it, direct it. And by the simple act of turning, we begin to develop a horizontal quality to that movement, and it's that which begins to move our arms for us. And so what happens above the center, in our back and in the front of our body, in our shoulders, in our arms, is it's an outcome of that rooting down and that alignment. Principally, there are other things involved. Just take your attention to your back and just feel the patterns of movement there as you turn from side to side, parts of your body expanding, parts of your body contracting. And that tends to develop into a nice steady rhythm, a nice steady flow. That rhythmic element is something that begins to resonate through your body. So when we start to turn from the center of the body in this way, when we start to develop a posture that is freer from tightness and stiffness, we start to feel a sense of connection. Not an arm up here and a leg down there, but one body, one intention, one mind coming together. And I think this makes a significant contribution to our sense of well-being. We feel as though we're moving more easily, more freely at times. At other times, you'll find that you lose that. I want to try not to get frustrated by that. This is quite normal. So particularly people newer to this, we get the odd glimpse of how this can feel. And as you start to do that, that too becomes an intention. This is how you want to be able to move. Different movements, different exercises will spotlight different parts of your body, and you'll become aware of areas of tightness and stiffness. Be patient with those, don't strain against them. Turning your hands palm forwards now, raise them up a little bit. Here we can feel with the arms in a fixed position, how when we turn in our body, our arms just naturally follow. Try not to stiffen up in your shoulders or your arms. And see if there's a sense of movement within your arms. How does it feel in the big muscles of your arms? You're trying to let those big muscles soften, to relax. When we do that, we can sometimes start to feel those same currents of movements, those patterns of expansion and contraction. And then dropping your hands down. Put one foot forwards, move your weight from foot to foot, let your center of your body turn. Doesn't matter which direction at the moment, it's turning in. And here we feel the significance of our legs, the transmission of the movement from one foot to another, sinking down, settling in each leg, and again feeling that push up. This opens up another dimension of the movement. As we bring our attention to all of these things, the effect on our mind is one of gathering, of beginning to bring your attention more into your body. And in doing so, just allowing some of the distractions, some of the thoughts to take a back seat for a while. So, whatever else is going on around you is still going to be there, but it's as though you start to come into this quieter space. And we begin to realize that mind and body are interacting here, that quieter, clearer space, bringing a sense of greater awareness to our movements. And so the opportunity will arise to begin to gently change the movements, to change our posture, to work with these things. Change over. So there's a number of things that we start to bring together in this initial stage that we want to take with us into the later exercises. They tend to be more complicated. So it's a good idea to just review these things. A lot of what I'm saying is summed up in a few lines from some of the old writings in Tai Chi. Some of these date back many hundreds of years. Just shake out. So one line simply says, first in the mind. This is the process of gently bringing your attention into your body, become a little bit more aware. And then later it says that the movement is rooted in the feet. This is the dropping of our center of gravity. Transmitted through our legs. We've seen how that works. It works in various ways. Directed, shaped, controlled from the center of the body, and finally expressed in the upper body and arms. So a simple formula that we can come back to again and again and begin to get a sense for the outcome of that. Now go back to the parallel posture, a little bit more precise now. Feet should be hip width apart. So not too close together or too wide apart, so that you feel as though your feet and your legs are capable of supporting your hips, and your hips are thereby capable of supporting your shoulders. Again, your weight a little bit forwards in your feet, and this very gentle dropping back in your hips and your lower back. Our knees will bend a little bit when we do this, but try and think it more in terms of your hips just dropping back, as though you've just been out for a walk and you're just resting on the edge of a wall or something like that. It's a process that we can call releasing or letting go of the tightness in lower back and hips. And if you want an idea of what that can feel like, I'll come a bit closer. You see, if I hold my fist tight here, And you see it's gripping hard. I can feel the tension going all the way up to my shoulder, and it's very uncomfortable. I don't want to just drop the fist because then I have no structure. But if you watch here, I can just open up the fist a little bit, and there's a hole there. There's space there. And this transition from a tightly gripped fist to a more open fist has a response in the muscles of the arms, and it's that same response that we're looking for around the center of the body. And that can become an intention. Your instruction, if you like, to the body is look for that feeling of releasing. You can imagine it happening in the first instance. So everything just begins to settle. Feels as though your pelvis is hanging from your spine. Front of your body is hanging from your back. And then just letting your hips drop back a little bit more. So your knees will bend more here. And then feeling that stronger sense of a push up. And sinking down. Remember what I said about water, when you push a ball down into water. When you do that, the feeling of buoyancy, the feeling of the water pushing up gets stronger and stronger. So as you sink down, that feeling of being pushed up from your feet and your legs increases. You don't want it to become a struggle. You don't want to force yourself down. And so you start to get a sense of movement between this lower level from the energy from the legs starts to move you up to that higher level when the pull of gravity takes over and pulls you down again. Your body contracting and expanding. So again, we have a movement and energy beginning to flow through the body. And this is one of the principal energetic cycles in Tai Chi. There are others. Breathing is important. Just let yourself breathe nice and easily and gently. But the relationship between the pull of gravity and our bodies and the ground beneath us is of primary importance. So now, bringing your hands around so you're cradling the ball. And as you push up, your body expands. Just let it push your elbows out so your hands will come up. Turn them over as though you're resting them on the ball. And you let your hips sink. And again, so you're pushing the ball down into water. Pushing up. And sinking. Again, we use a variety of images in Tai Chi, a variety of ideas. Not all of them will work for you all of the time, but one of the very common ones is as though we're moving through water with a slight sense of resistance that encourages that letting go, releasing quality in our joints, which is something that most of us will do quite naturally in water. We know intuitively that if we stiffen up in water, it becomes harder work. We develop a more fluid, but also a stronger movement. It's also said that we could move like water. That sense of the flow. But also significantly, water will always seek the easiest path, the path of least resistance. So as we begin to recognize areas of the body that feel stiff or tight, the intention there, the initial intention, is going to be to just try and find a way to have an idea that we want the movement to flow around that tension, flow around that blockage, the way that water will flow around and smooth off a rock in a riverbed. As you become more familiar with the nature of the movements and the postures, you might also want to consider whether your posture is actually helping to release that tightness, whether the way that you're moving is adding to that tightness. We begin to just find ways to open up our bodies a little bit, to encourage that sense of movement. Might use a stronger image. Say you've got tightness in the shoulder, actually focusing on it for a few moments just to get a sense of that tightness draining away down through your hips. Don't spend too much time focusing on those areas where maybe the movement isn't quite so fluid. If you do, you'll tend to start to reinforce the tightness. So after a little while, maybe focusing on that shoulder or wherever your focus happens to be, move away from that, focus on those areas where there is the movement, or maybe that image of moving through water or some of the other images that we use. Flow of the movement will be present somewhere in your body. Now, this time, turn your hand so your fingers are pointing outwards. Same pattern of expansion and contraction. This is the wild goose. So with this one, there's the image of the bird in flight, which may convey some kind of quality of smoothness, of openness, bird against the sky. But again, also quite a strong quality. And if any of those resonate with you, again, this becomes an intentional quality that we want to bring into the movements. If an image doesn't work for you, any of the images, try not to chase after them. Sometimes their meaning opens up after a while, sometimes not. The purpose of the images is to enhance the movements. And then the third variation on this movement, heart in the clouds, hands crossing in front of your belly and push it up. Expanding and contracting, parting the clouds. Trying to keep a nice even rhythm between the expanding and the contracting stages without forcing anything. You may find that every now and then one is a little bit quicker than the other, but overall, a sense of harmony and balance between the two stages. Now let your arms hang down. Again, be aware of the weight of your arms hanging from your shoulders. And the next time you push up, pushing one hand up, wind around as though you're just plucking something soft off the tree or down. Your attention to the other side, push up, extending all the way through that side of your body, and then way down. And expanding and don't rush the change from one side to another. Finish one movement, move your attention to your center, and then the opposite side. Expand again. Easy and gently. As dragon plucks the stars from the sky. One more time. Just stand for a moment, not in the very low position, but in what we could regard as the top position. With again that slight sense of overhanging in the rear of of your body. Sense of sitting, of settling, particularly allowing your upper body to settle in. And for the next movements, a couple of movements, we're not going to go up and down, but we're going to try and maintain this position that allows for that movement within the body. So bringing your hands beside your hips. And then bring them up and onto the body just a little bit above your head, extending through your back and contracting. Make a point to bringing your hands all the way back. And then lift up, let your elbows drop and push out sideways, turning your hands palm out. And again, coming back in, coming back to the center. This is a good exercise to help you to develop that awareness of the center of the body, which is really where we want our attention to sit. This is where we can look out from. It's that part of the body that is dropping towards the ground. So there's a developing steadiness of attention that begins to build when we practice this. So we're literally moving from our center, expanding out from the center and the ground, contracting back in. Take your time with both stages. And this time, as you push your hands out, make a little turn in the center of your body, and that changes the direction of the push in your arms, and turn back to the front. Turn in the other direction and back. And then pushing out sideways and back. So we have 4 stages now. It's called pushing in 4 direction. 1, you expand and 2, expanding, contracting. 3, expanding but turning the other way and contracting. And then 4, expanding and again, 1, nice steady pace, not too quickly. So you're moving through water. Complete in the movement, don't rush. 2. Attention again, coming back to us. 3. And 4. One. 2. 3. The last time. 4. Back this time, letting your arms drop all the way down, and with the next feeling of expansion, one arm pushing out, palm turned out, letting your arms swing till it's above your head and then down in front of your nose, in front of your sternum, in front of your navel. In a half circle around your body, elbows slightly bent. And again, expanding all the way through that side of your body, very gently. If it's uncomfortable getting your hand up that high, just have it lower, that's fine. And then if it's comfortable for you, from that top position, once again, you turn to draw your arm across your body. Again, people a little bit more experienced in this, try and see if you can get that sense of the movement within the body, that expansion and contraction that we've already looked at, to move your arm for you rather than straining in the shoulder. And then changing sides. Notice any difference between one side and another. And then it's comfortable, you add to turn. It's quite a strong movement. It comes from quite strong in the side, so don't overdo it. Remember, we're not stretching in these exercises. Just try for a sense of extension, but not a full stretch. Now, this time, go back to the sinking down and pushing up. Aware of the alignment of your pelvis, and gently push your hips back and notice how that brings your head and shoulders forwards. Sit back and push up. Again, try not to strain as you come up, rather so you were sitting into a chair and just letting your hips drop back. Your arms following. This is a movement called rowing a boat in the middle of the lake. And then straighten. Expanding and contracting. You can go out and down too far, just as far as you're comfortable. Try and maintain that feeling of kind of softening, releasing feeling in your back, the rest of your body. And this time, as you come up, bring your hands palm down in front of your belly. Turn, push your hips back, slide your hands forwards, swing across, come back to the central position. It's called polishing the table. Again, moving in the center of your body, swinging around. See the movement from the back, see how my hips are moving. Turn, I'm exaggerating a little bit here, so hopefully you can see what's going on. And notice how my hips drop down. I'm back to the upright position. Polishing the table. Overextend your arms. One more in each direction. and stand. Those last few exercises illustrate very nicely how when we move in the center of our body, we get a response from the whole of the body. That center part of the body is sometimes described as being like the hub of a wheel. When it moves, the whole wheel moves. So it becomes an increasing point of focus. And as I said earlier, it also becomes the kind of place of stillness. So we have this idea that there's a stillness within the movement. The stillness is not an alternative to the movement. Again, like the hub of a wheel, if you ride a bicycle or drive a car, the wheel is fixed in to the frame of the vehicle. So there's a stillness there. So this becomes an increasing feature, I think, in Tai Chi. We move more from our center, and because our center's dropping towards the ground, we move more from the ground and from the stability that offers, and we direct the movement from the center of the body. So we're constantly being asked to bring our attention back to the center of the body. This is something that I think is very important in Tai Chi. This quality of stillness and calmness is one of the great attractions of the art, strangely, because it's also a very dynamic art, of course. So what we're trying to do is to cultivate an ability to bring our attention to a quieter place. And this is something that I think is very useful in our daily lives. Aside from the physical aspects of the art, which is also very important, of course, we do have this growing ability just to be able to step back, not to push away the other things, the important things going on in our lives, but to have a little bit of respite from them, perhaps, is the way of thinking. So we literally learn to move from our center, to move from the sense of stillness. Now, maybe have your feet a little bit wider apart for this and toes turned out. And just begin to move your weight a little bit from side to side. Give yourself a moment to sort of settle down in each leg. And that way you'll begin to feel the push. It's like doing this if you do this on a trampoline or on a bouncy castle, you'll sink down and then you'll feel the push up. And the push goes through the center of your body and into the other leg. So the rooting down is a primary source of energy in Tai Chi. Trying to move with the structure, try not to sort of tilt your pelvis out or lean your shoulders. It's quite a small movement, about 60% of your weight in each leg. We move from the center, we move from the ground. And we're prepared to take just that moment. And if you practice settling in, remember that feeling, the fist unclenching, trying to apply that to your hips, your knees, your ankles. And if you practice that, then you'll find that actually it doesn't take more than a split second. And we often feel that we don't have time to settle. So we get into a mad rush and we're being encouraged to multitask, to sort things out for Christmas, to do this, to do that. And a lot of that stuff can be very important. It's actually enhanced if we're prepared to just spend some time cultivating this sense of the stillness. We've seen Tai Chi, the relationship between stillness and. Now going into your left foot, so mirror my movements, and if you push your right knee forwards, the heel will come off the ground. So we do that, and more of your weight goes into your left foot. We're trying to align ourselves over the left leg. Try not to lean. Go across into your right foot, push the left knee forwards, and again, settling in. Once we've got that, we go into the left. We've got that sense of being settled, of our left leg supporting us, and we turn. It's a little bit exaggerated how far I'm turning. You go across into your right, push your left knee forwards and turn. Imagine you've got a centre line. I use the image of the hub of the wheel, and a wheel has an axle, and it's as though you've got a vertical axle going down through the middle of your body, and you just lightly turn around it. Let that movement develop a nice sense of flow, moving across, settle in, turning. Bring your hands around in front of you. Note how they're moving with you. Try not to stiffen up in your fingers. And as you come across into your left leg, expand through the right side of your body, as you've done a couple of times already. That pushes your hand up. Just let your arm extend out from the shoulder. Turn it palm down. Come back to the center. Move across to the other side. This time expanding in the left side of your body. Your arm grows out of your shoulder like a branch growing out of the trunk of the tree. Turn that hand palm down, turn your right hand palm up. Just let that movement alternate from side to side. This is a movement called hitting the ball in front of the shoulder. This is a good image. This is a very dynamic and quite a strong image. Using the natural elasticity and springiness of our body, which is something that gradually develops for us, to move the body to hit the ball. So we can see how these two aspects of the movement, the yin yang of the movement, if you like, of stillness and of a dynamic movement, really are interdependent. It's the stillness that allows our awareness and our intention to become part of the movement, to guide the movement. It's the awareness of the movements, the awareness of our postures, awareness of those subtle changes within the body that provide a focus, an anchor for the thoughts, random thoughts sometimes that float through our head, and we get a sense of our attention beginning to be anchored, but not always still calm, any more than the boat that's anchored on the sea remains in one place. But we get drawn back and pass through the center of the movement. Feel the ground beneath our feet. So we're able to cultivate moments of quietness, of stillness, with the movement working around those points. The energy flowing, a bit more of a sense of harmony, smoothness. So hitting the ball in front of the shoulder means that energy also begins to flow with a bit more strength, as you would expect from water. One more on each side. Same movement now from side to side. Let your hands drop down, angle out a little bit, and just let them swing up now to about shoulder height. Look between your hands towards the corner, whichever room you're in. This is called cow gazes at the moon. So it has a more expansive quality than the previous one. Note though that my arms drop all the way down here, then up. They don't sort of come across here, bunching up the shoulder. I just let them drop to their full length and get the smooth semicircle through my body. Drawn across by the movement of my weight, turn of the center. And you may find, without stretching, without straining, that if you release a little bit more in your hip, you can turn a little bit further. Don't go so far that you reintroduce to your body a sense of tightening. The idea is to keep that softer, supple quality, elastic quality in our body. If you feel that muscles are bunching up, the joints are tightening, you've gone too far. One more time. And give your legs a shake. We're asked to seek the stillness within them. Now, from this parallel stance, imagine parallel lines going across the floor. Turn one foot out, step forwards with the other along that line. So keep the width of your step. And now again, transferring your weight forwards and backwards. Trying not to lean. Don't move your shoulders forwards or back, keep your pelvis level. We're going to about 60% of the full weight into the front leg, but when we go back, more like 70. We always want to feel at the end of a particular movement that we could have moved a little bit further, and that helps us to retain the sense of space within the body. And one of the attributes of the postures and the movements that go with them is that there is space for them. Space for muscles to expand and contract, the joints to move, for the energy to flow. So we go to 80% of the pool. Feels that we could have moved a little bit further. The 80% will expand. So we'll get more and more movement, really by a process of what you might call erosion, in the way that a river will erode the soil around it, wear down the rock. So again, we're not stretching in these movements. I think stretching is a good thing to do, but it's not what we're doing. Now, when you go forwards again, once again, push your back knee forwards and more of your weight goes into the back foot. When you go back, just let your front hip soften and raise your front toes. So again, more of your weight going into your supporting leg, trying to keep your pelvis level, and see if you can step in. Place the foot, give yourself a chance to settle in before you take the step. Don't rush this. Okay, check out. Put your other foot forwards. So feel that the stance is comfortable. People with more experience try to be a bit more precise about the width and the length of your stance. But either way, you want to feel that you're supported, that your legs are supporting your upper body. Otherwise, inevitably, you're going to stiffen up in the upper part of your body. So again, heels and toes coming up. So more and more of our weight being supported by one leg for a few moments. Try not to stiffen up in the joints of your legs, but rather get a feeling that your weight is dropping down through your feet into the ground. Stepping in. When you step, try not to tilt your pelvis over. Remember, we want the alignment with the pull of gravity and our pelvis, the alignment of our pelvis and our center are key factors in that. And then take a few steps through, either forwards or backwards. Just try and get a sense for walking for its own sake. Just aware where you're placing your feet, aware of the alignment of your body. And change direction. Bring your feet back. Okay. So with the next exercise, we'll try and bring all of these different factors together. Take your time. So again, standing with your right foot forwards. Move your weight into the front foot, sinking down, feeling that sense of a rise in energy. Turn a little bit towards your left. And as you do, let your arms swing out, a little bit like the wild goose. And then coming back, let your hands drop down, settle into your back foot, turn to your right towards the front foot, and let the arms expand and then contract. This is an exercise called Wind Blows the Willows. Weight is moving. The hips are sinking down. The combination giving you a very dynamic quality here that is shaped and guided via the center of the body. Try not to lead the movement with your arms and shoulders. Your arms will follow the movement. Wind blows the willows. And try that with your left foot forwards. Moving your weight into the front leg, just turning towards your right. Then the expansion and contraction, working in your body. Don't over move your arms, don't strain for them. It should go no higher than shoulder height, but maybe lower than that. Wind blows the willows. We will combine this movement with the step in that we just did. So again, either forwards or backwards, bring whichever foot is appropriate in, step through, move forwards or backwards, turn into the leg, bring the other foot in. And then, if it's appropriate, if you feel comfortable with this, you can raise the leg. This is called dragonfly skins to water. As your knee comes up, if it comes up, your hips should be dropping back to counterbalance that. I'm going to do one more and then change direction. So up and then backwards. Take your time, bring the foot in. Only raise it if it feels comfortable for you to do so. In time, you'll learn to be able to do this. But particularly newer people, it may find yourself get a bit wobbly. And not just newer people, but sometimes this isn't going to work. You may find you think so oops, you get a bit wobbly. Place the toes down. Look for that feeling of a centered movement from the ground. One more time. And then putting your feet back. Lovely. Give yourself a shake out. Dragonfly spins the wind. Now, rubbing your hands together. And with the pads of your fingers, just tap very lightly over your face. And then palms of your hands going over your head and down to your neck. And across to one shoulder, down the inside of your arm, the outside, and then the opposite side. Bring your hands around to the lower part of your back. Round your head. Light on your belly. Onto the upper part of your chest. Our final exercise returns to this theme of coming back. As I said earlier, you know, we are like a boat anchored on the seabed. We move around, but we can come back. I don't think anybody is fully rooted and centered the whole time. I don't think anybody maintains a very calm demeanor all of the time. That we can lose that sense of the stillness within the movement, but very, very easily. But with Tai Chi, we learned that there's a way back. The last exercise is called Embrace Tiger, Return to the Mountain. The mountain can be a lovely symbol of what the cumulative effect of all these qualities of stillness, of alignment, of movement, strength. If it's a good image for you, then you can make use of that. Bring your feet parallel again. Feel the pull of gravity on your hips, just pulling you down towards the ground, and then eventually just feeling that quite natural push up, your arms coming out again, this time coming around as though they're going to hold a ball against your chest. Elbows dropping, bringing your hands in, and then everything settling back down. Embrace Tiger, return to the mountain. And let's get a sense for what brings you back. It might be just an awareness of the pull of gravity and the way it works in your body. It might be a sensation in your hips or your back or your shoulders. It might be the image of the mountain or the memory of what it's like just to settle for a moment. What would be most useful for you to come back to in those moments of frustration during the day? Everything seems to be getting on top of you. Start to lose that sense of center. It can be very simple just to return to it for a moment. One or two things that will make the difference. One more time. Let your hands come down, hips drop back. Left with that feeling of just being very settled, very calm. Aware too of the dynamic movements, the flow of energy, of your breathing, of the circulation, still running within your body. Thank you very much for joining in, everybody. Please feel free to contact me if you do have any questions. But for now, I shall wish you a
Mike, it's Ian.